This is day 9. How much does he owe? He can take all of his money, essentially, so this is how much he currently pays, right? This is how much he pays, but so let's say that he has 30, so it's like amount minus amount to the giver. This is how much he has as a debt, so that's at giver that. So essentially debts are some sort of like a linked list, so you can think of it as a linked list or as an array that you always process in reverse order. We're gonna think of it as an array, so in case giver in debts, if not giver in debts, then debt at giver is just that. So he has a debt, but he has a debt to the receiver, right? So if he was never there, then you can say that and then add his debt. So debts at giver dot append. So I'm gonna append the debt to the receiver, right? So you keep track of how much he owes and then repay all of the debts. So now he has money, right? So let's say if he owes money to like 3 guys, actually the first one that he owes money to is like this guy, so you can say I0 when I is less than, actually if he has no debts, then okay, let's just never do this. So pay as much as you can from amounts at receiver. So let's say current debt and 2, which is I. So if you can pay the current debt, so it's either you can pay the current debt, so paying the current debt means doing this, actually how much can you pay, right? Because so we want to try repaying this, so that's how much we have to we have to pay 2. Well, the problem with doing this is that tuples are immutable, and actually I want to be able to mutate that, right? Because I want to say, well, currently I can pay, like if you look at the debt and 2, if I can pay, so what does it mean that I can actually pay all of this debt? It means amounts at receiver is bigger than this, then I can pay the entire debt, which means amounts at receiver goes down just by C debt, and then I goes up, which means I'm gonna try paying the next one, right? But if I can't pay all of it, then I'll just try to pay as much as I can from this one. So essentially I pay all of his debt and he receives that money, and then I go to the next one. Otherwise I just pay essentially as much as I can. So as much as I can means C debt. So right, so the relationship between those is this guy is less than or equal to this guy, so this guy is the smaller one. No, that's not true. This is confusing me. So that's at the receiver at I at 0 should go down by as much as I can pay. I can't pay all of it, which means this guy is the bigger guy, right? So this guy is bigger than that guy, and I just pay as much as I can. So I pay amounts at receiver, right? So I pay all of it, which means amounts at receiver is now 0 because I essentially paid all of the money that I could, and then they actually received all of the money that I paid them. And my debt is now smaller. And here, if I was able to pay all of my debts, so debts at receiver should be right. So if I can pay all of them, then I would be the length. If I can't pay all of them, for example, if I is 1, and that means I wasn't able to pay 1, right? So this one should be debts at the receiver go forward from I. Yeah, I was expected really. And this is breaking, I guess, because if you can't, so you essentially tried to pay, so you paid as much as you can, and then you broke out of the loop. Two, 4, 4, 1, which is just not true. So let's say that he can't pay all of it, right? Well, if this is 20 and this is 30, then he owes 30. So that's at giver, we append that, the essentially like the debt, so he owns 10 to the receiver, and then amount is, this is how much we're gonna essentially pay right now, right? So the receiver receives that, and then repaying that essentially goes like this. So you try debts at receiver, amount at receiver has, amounts at receiver has. So pay as much as you can from amounts at receiver. So if I can currently pay all of my debt, then just essentially means pay all of your debt by going amounts at receiver that, right? Because I can pay all of it, and then I go to the next. If I can't pay the entire debt to this guy, just reduce my debt by how much I can pay right now, then increase the guy who's gonna receive by that, and I have to go to 0 because I can't. I'm essentially paying everything, right? So and then debts at receiver is debts at receiver going from I forwards. I don't know, man. I can't see it, dude. It's just, you know. I literally just can't see it. I mean, like I've went through it step by step. logically, and it makes no sense. Maybe our favorite AI chatbot can see it. Come on, dude, just tell me what the fuck the error is, man. Sometimes I think they're just making fun of me, dude. Yeah. I'm guessing you have to like clear all of the. But how come like when Alpha received, he didn't pay his debt to like Delta? So maybe he just went into debt and then he received money, but he didn't pay it. No. Okay, I mean, this is the issue right here, but I can see like how do we end up here? So essentially Alpha ends up with a debt, and then he just doesn't like repay the debt, right? How does Alpha has 269 at the end? Like, so Echo gives to Alpha 0. Oh, it may be that probably as soon as like this guy gets repaid, yeah, that's the problem, I guess. So like these guys should be like functions, right? So once you get paid, you should go ahead and just pay all of your friends. So you go payment, and you can go something of the sort. Maybe we can do something like receive, right? So when somebody just receives money, do you really care who they received it from? Not really. You care just about the receiver, and you care about paying it back, so this is a list of tuples which are made out of ints and strings. Yeah, it's actually a list of lists. So the list contains yeah, there's no way to type this. Not that I'm aware of course. Yeah. If we do this, we may end up like paying debts more than once. So what you'd like to do is actually just mutate debts. So if you can pay the whole amount, go ahead, pay the whole amount, but also mutate debts. So debts becomes debts like that. So you mutate everything and then you receive amounts debts to an AMT, right? Otherwise, if you can't pay everything, just make sure you can pay right just first. So take the current debt, right, and then process it. So you mutate this. So processing it means essentially just first remove as much as you can. If you can pay this whole debt, just pay the whole debt and then make sure you receive on the other way. But if you can't pay the whole debt, just make sure that you go ahead, you pay the you pay as much as you can, right? Then you have nothing left after you paid as much as you could. Then you insert, so your debt is essentially, you still have that debt to this guy, you have no more amount, and then you have to break after this, because, so why do you break? Well, essentially because it's clear that you can't pay anymore, right? So we can call receive here on amount debts receiver and the amount. This is how much we receive, right? We don't care about that much. And then so it's definitely not 858. So as soon as you receive, you start paying all of your debts. But we never actually like increase. And it looks like debts are essentially just not getting extinguished. Okay, I mean, yeah. So this guy does have 57 and 302, but this has 385. If we look, Yeah, this guy definitely, he doesn't receive a mount. He receives see that, and in this case he receives um so to receive is mounted receiver, and then this is to receive 2511. Yeah, took our time, boys.